You are listening to the Freedom Podcast with Van Moody. Our desire is that you begin to live in freedom every day. Freedom in your mind, freedom in your finances, freedom from the external pressures of life. Prepare to be transformed as we seek to be free, mind, body, and soul. Let's get started.
Hi, friends. Welcome to the Freedom Podcast. And it is a joy each and every opportunity we have to come together to discuss a variety of topics that help all of us to lead a life of freedom and purpose, but also fulfillment. And so each month on this podcast, we cover a number of topics, but one of the topics that we focus on each and every month is financial freedom. Because we recognize that one of the biggest barriers to living a life of freedom and purpose and fulfillment for many people is the issue of money and finances. And so each and every month, I am joined by my co-hostess with the mostest, and maybe co-host with the most is a better way to say it, Pastor George B. Thompson, my homeboy all the way from LA. And so we are super excited to jump into this next episode on financial freedom. George, how you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing awesome. I'm so glad to be here. Getting ready for summer. We're getting ready for summer.
Yeah, buddy. Well, George, I want to jump back in because we recently did a podcast episode entitled What to Do Now. You know, in light of all of the things and shifts and even some unexpected calamities that we've seen happen. I think the world has paid attention to the banking collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and some of the collateral impacts of that bank's failure. And we spent a lot of time on a previous podcast episode talking about that and talking about some important steps that we need to engage in now. And we really want to do a part 2 of that podcast episode because as we are preparing for summer, we know that we have opportunities to lean in. And so by way of really framing this biblically, because we always not only talk practical, but we talk, the biblical principles that we need to focus on here. I want to go back and remind our listeners, we really framed this initial podcast episode with reflecting on the men of Issachar. The Bible talks about the men of Issachar, and they were a particular tribe of the nation of Israel. And it says that they understood the signs of the times and knew what Israel might do. And in a previous episode, when we started talking about what are we going to do now, I talked about the importance of understanding semiotics. Semiotics is really the study of the signs of the times. And that's what the men of Issachar were really known for. That was their specialty, if you will. A lot of people that understand biblical history understand that the Levitical tribe was responsible for all of the work in the tabernacle. They were responsible for the sacrificing. They were responsible for baking bread. They were responsible for keeping the candlestick full of oil so that the light could continue to burn. They were responsible for burning, the altar of incense, making sure that incense and those things were going up every single day. They were responsible on the Day of Atonement for the high priest pressing into the Holy of Holies. And so the Levitical tribe was really preoccupied with the busyness of the tabernacle, tending to it, all of the notions around all of the details of the tabernacle. But what many people miss is that the men of Issachar, they were the entrepreneurs. They were the business-minded ones. They were the semioticians who understood the signs of the times. They were the ones that were trained with recognizing when the cloud was moving or when the fire was shifting. And then they would notify the Levitical tribe, and the Levitical tribe would then break down the tabernacle and get it ready to be transported to the next location. And so even that Old Testament reference is important for us when we start talking about money and finances, because oftentimes we can become so used to just doing what we always do that we miss that the cloud has shifted. And so we need to be prepared to make those shifts and those moves so that not only can we stay in step with what God is doing, but also we can make good financial decisions. And that's really the foundation of this part 2 on what should we do now, because we know that there is shifting in our economy. We understand that the Fed is trying to create this soft landing. We understand that there's concern around will there be a recession? Will we be able to accomplish this soft landing? We know that monthly individuals are looking at the job report. We understand that we're living in an inflationary environment that's having some impact on our economy. And so, in light of all of that, George, let's dig back into what should we do now? Because as we prepare for summer, we got a lot of things. We got kids that are going to be out of school. For some people, that means your grocery bill is going to go up. You got people that are planning to travel. And so, how do we begin to do that in a way that is, steady and on budget? So we have all of these things that I think we need to dig into as we move into the summer. So, George, where do you think we ought to start, man?
Good. First of all, before I do, I got to jump back into the men of Issachar and symbiotics and everything like that. You know what is so interesting is I'm watching and that we want to, as we're studying this, is we're seeing that they at that time and in the Bible, they always had to deal with three economies, and we have to do that still to this day.
Absolutely.
So if you're driving a car, you can still do it and everything, but whatever you're doing, can everyone hold up three fingers? Three fingers. There are three economies you have to deal with at all times. This is from 2,000 years ago to right now. First of all, there's God's economy.
Yeah.
That's built on giving and receiving. God gives, you receive. Psalms 24:1, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness therein. Okay. The second economy, which Bishop Moody gave a great intro in, that's called the world's economy. That's built on borrowing and lending. So he brought up Silicon Valley Bank, but actually it's all medium-sized banks across the country, and doing certain things like that. I should say all, but it's a banking issue, borrowing and lending. And then there's a third economy. That's your economy. That's what we talk about and in doing it, that you have to learn how to manage all three of these. So it starts with God's economy, giving and receiving. Then also, we're going to go back and talk about the world's economy, because that's borrowing and lending. And then there's these people, the Federal Reserve, and they raise interest rates or lower interest rates, or they do this or do that. But we're going to start with the third one. That's your economy. Because actually, Bishop Van, the reason why people want to hear about their economy is how they think the economy is going, right? Right now, you're thinking right now, if you got a job, everything's cool. If you got money, everything's fine. If you don't have a job, the economy's horrible, right? Or in doing. So let's look at some things. Right now, it's coming into summer. I'm going to list a couple, then I'll get a couple reflections from you, Bishop, on them. Number one is this summer, you brought it up, so I'm going to bring it up. He said vacations, traveling, all that stuff. Everybody set that number in advance. Set that number in advance. So just let you guys know, and you can laugh if you guys want to, because God bless you. You guys can laugh if you want to, but because Bishop Lee laughs whenever I say this stuff. I already told everybody, my family, they're talking about they want to go to Hawaii, they want to go here, they want to go there. You know what I told them? Hey, y'all, we can go anywhere in the world, but this is the number. So everybody let us know how we gonna do it in this number. I want you guys to know this, so everybody can look up airline tickets. Everybody can look up where we gonna be staying. Everybody can look up that. Okay, everybody got that number. It ain't just and that number just ain't. It ain't like the federal government where we can just raise a debt ceiling. So we have a number. Okay, so number one, I already gave that out. Set a number. Okay, and then look at where you can save money. Up until that, you have your number. What you can do? Look at where you can save money during the summer. All right, that's number two. I've said this before. Number three, and people laugh at me, but I live in Los Angeles, California. Look at things you can do that are fun, that are free. In other words, like my son really likes airplanes and everything like this. So hey, and then I'm gonna say, or very low cost. I'm gonna do very low cost. He enjoys. We enjoy going to In-N-Out Burger right here in LA, and then sit and watching planes land. And we like doing that. We can sit out and do this. There's several things you can do that are lower cost. I also just made a TikTok video on this the other day. Is I gave my wife the day off. Bishop Van gave my wife the day off, and then I took my kids to breakfast. Everybody, breakfast is cheaper than lunch and dinner. Just want to let you know. That's why. And then also people that I've taken to breakfast meetings. I still love you. It's just that breakfast is cheaper than lunch and dinner. And then I took my kids to the dollar store, and then they get two treats, one that's you eat and one that you drink. And then we went to the movie theater before 12 o'clock. And everybody goes, George, why'd you go to the movie? Why'd you go to 11:40 plug-in movies, Mario Brothers? I went to that movie at 11:40 because it was $10 for me to get in, $10.25. For kids, it was $6.25. So you guys understand, I'm paying under $50. I have three kids, by the way. And we did buy the popcorn, though, because I can't get around the popcorn. But I think next time, Pastor Van, let me know if I can get away with this. I'm gonna bring the popcorn, put that movie butter on it, and see if I can get by. Okay, but you see, these are just things to save, and these are just things to save money. And then I just want to go over number 5, and then I'm going to go over number 5, and I'm going to kick it over to you, and you let me know what you think about these and everything. And then, by the way, everybody, I'm not changing. You guys can argue with me. Do this. Second thing is this child care. You guys know summer is very expensive in kids, so I just want to tell you some things that you want to do is start negotiating some of these things. My kids go to a school, and there are other parents. So what I do is I'm going to there's a couple of them that have daughters that are the same age as my daughter, and they have sons, and I'm going to have Thompson Day, where they come over to our house for a couple of days, and I kind of help manage them, and then I let you guys know how I manage lunch and everything like that, and food and everything like this, and then our kids can go over to their house on certain days, so you understand, we're not spending that expense, but then we're doing it. So it's like on our finding your down day, and then that's your up day, and then you find other people to manage those. So those are days when you're not paying for care and stuff like that, and then negotiate with people. If you're going to go to somewhere, find discount days. Like I'm using Sky Zone or entertainment places where they're cheaper on certain days and their times. So those are some ways that you can practically start saving money and still have a good time.
Yeah, I think that's really good. One of the things that I want to comment on and dig deeper in is this notion of vacations. Because, I take the summers off. I take a large portion of the summers off. And my family and I, we do our best to vacation somewhere every year. But we plan for it a year ahead. And we do it in a way, that is cost beneficial. So one of the things that we do is all of my travel throughout the year, I'm racking up. Every time I'm traveling for work, I'm staying in a certain brand hotel because I know that summer I'm going to spend those points. And so that's really one of the smart things that we've done for years. Some of the bill pays that we do, we will use a particular card and then pay that card off at the end of the month. But then we will rack up the points, and then we use those points, those hotel points. We use those, card points, and that's how I buy plane tickets for my kids and my wife and I. And so we're able to cut our budget for summer travel dramatically because we have that intentionality and we plan for it. So one of the things that I think people can easily do, is you got to plan for those vacations. In a previous podcast, we talked about the importance of having those conversations. And a part of the conversation is planning for things. I think a lot of times, George, we get in trouble and spend more money than we need to because we didn't plan ahead of time. And it always costs more to repair than to prepare. And so what we're doing through
you can't just say that. You can't say that. Come on now. You can't say that once. And I'm going to go back to points in a minute. I need to go back to points. But go ahead. Can you say that again slower? So everybody, I'm writing this down. If you're under 40, just type down what he's about to say. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Say it again.
You know what I was going to do, George? I need to clap like you do because I know what I'm about to say. But no, it always costs more to repair than to prepare. And when it comes to financial planning, in particular with savings, we end up spending more money because we didn't prepare. We're repairing. So we're making these last minute decisions. We didn't talk about, where we want a vacation in the summer. And so once again, you get to the summer and you didn't plan for it, and it's going to cost you more. And so that's one of the things that we absolutely do. And then
I got to stop everybody. You heard him say it, but I'm gonna literally repeat what you said, but just in a different way. So it's just really, really extremely practical. Do you see what he said about points? So now let me just tell you the practical steps. It's right now, everyone. So just when we teach credit, you want to take care of your credit, but this is the things you want to do. You want to have one credit card that's your personal credit card. And then how many ever business you have what's called a business credit card. And that credit card has to be advantageous. So right now, write this down. I'm sorry, if you're under 40, type it down. If you're over 40. write it down like I wrote it down. So is this like when you get a credit card, like, so then I have one, my business credit card is an airline card that lets me sit in the club. That lets me be able to do certain things I'm about to mention in a minute. That gives me points so my kids can travel. But then you're
Hmm.
also, I have never used a free ticket for me to travel. That's like auditing a class. I always let my kids travel, and then I
Yep.
do so I can continue to gather more miles. The guy says,
Yep.
I'm just talking to you practically about what he just said. So
Yep.
you have to find a card then you have a personal credit card that's advantageous. Now, I'm not plugging companies, but you guys want to start looking at banks, but you just don't have a credit card that doesn't do anything. So just so you know, and then also want to let all of our listeners know, we'll probably do a podcast just specifically on what credit cards you should get. In other words, like,
Yeah.
so I'll throw it out there right now with them. If you fly Delta, if you fly American, whatever one is in your area that goes around to the place that you want to go to. And then I'm going to come back to that. But then also Costco, if you go to certain places, there's certain ones that do that, give you discounts, gas, things like that. And then they give you points, you can get things. So you want to get a card that is advantageous. Second thing is that he also brought up is if you're getting points, and you can do this, and he said hotels. You can learn how to do certain things. There's a little thing. You guys know that hotels tell you to check in at, like, I don't know. I don't even know, but I guess they say 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but you have to be out by 11 and all that stuff. You know, that's not true if you have certain stats with these people, because what
Yep.
I do is I do the exact opposite. Like, if I ever go somewhere to speak, I'm there. It's like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. I can give my bag. They'll say, hey, I'm gonna do early check-in. I'll say, hey, we don't have that right now. I'll say, okay, cool. Do you have free breakfast? I'm eating, carrying on. Say, hey, let me know when the room's ready. But while that room is getting ready, I'm full. You know what I'm saying? So you learn how to manage the times and how to do those. But that is excellent what you said, because you guys see that. And hey, you guys watch this. It's better to prepare than to repair.
That's
Go
it.
ahead, Pastor.
No, no, I'm glad you stressed that, because a lot of times we get in trouble and we don't make good savvy moves because we just haven't prepared. And I'm a big proponent that I think you can do a lot of what you want to do in your heart if you prepare for it. And I think when we start talking about good fiscal management, and particularly financial freedom, you got to prepare. George, something else we talked about, vacationing, but then also looking at how to save money. I'll tell you another financial hack that I think is real good going into the summer. You know, Throughout the year, there are a number of things that we buy, for an example, on Amazon, life products. If we buy a lot of the things like Costco that we get in bulk, things like, I'm a big health guy. So a lot of my protein shakes and stuff like that, my plant-based products, I'm going to get those things from Amazon. But what's really cool about it is, there you go. Amazon has Amazon points. And so then what we do for things like gifts and other things like that, I use my Amazon points that I've racked up, for the previous quarter or the previous year, which means then I'm buying those products for free. So when you start talking about looking at how to save money, that's one of the key ways. So the kids are going to be home. They want to engage in different things. Then if it comes with an expenditure attached, I'm going to look at, can I use some of my Amazon points to get some of those things? The other component you talked about with inexpensive things to do, I love the movie theater analogy. I think that that's huge. But the other thing that we try to maximize, and we turn this into a really fun family experience, is our kids have reading that they have to do in the summer. They've got assigned reading, and it's generally the classics. And so we try to turn that reading exercise into a fun experience where, they read, we read it together as a family, we talk about it, but then maybe we identify if they're classic movies, that are based on the books that they have to read, and then we compare and contrast, and we just create a whole experience out of their summer reading. And so once again, that's relatively inexpensive to do, but then it also creates for family enjoyment. So those are a number of things that we do personally that help us to make the summer a really fun experience. Another thing that we do is we, turn our travel into an educational experience for the kids. So the kids then get to research, where we're going to go. And then, they get to identify some things that they want to do in those particular places. But the research and all of the things that they do educationally doesn't cost us anything because we've already paid for the trip. And so then we attach some other things to it that create these fun experiences that are transformative to the kids, but it doesn't cost anything. So,
Right.
those are all ideas that expand on your list, George, of some of the things that we can be planning and preparing for this summer. All right, you
All right.
clapping. I know you're
I
ready to
know
go.
because I'm just repeating. He said what I said, then I repeated what he said. But anyway, I guess I'm everybody. See that? That's my remix button. See that? I got a remix button now. So in doing that, so no, that is absolutely awesome. So I thought about something. We're going to do that this summer. We're going to do a challenge. So we're going to see who can travel and then utilize the most resources. Okay. So I just want to let everybody know up front. I'm doing the challenge, but I'm in this game. Okay. So what I did is I just opened up my phone right now, and I can win too. I just want to let you know who thinks they can beat me. So what we're going to do is this. So we're going to do a challenge, and we'll say like this, like, you'll tell us about a trip, and we'll do it. We'll have a prize. Okay. And you go on the trip, you say, hey, I used this number of points. I did this. So let me tell you the 3 things I was going to do, because you guys, again, by the way, I'm a professional. So like my kids will say, hey, look, you want to eat? And I'm just naming restaurants. Okay. So I'll just
Yep.
I'm just thinking about, I'm going to Chick-fil-A, and there's something in California called Blaze Pizza. So I collect my points all year and everything like that. I'm just mentioning these names. We're not plugging these. I'm just using them so they're examples, like Chipotle and everything like this. So I'll be sitting there and I'll be somewhere, right? And it'll be expensive. They're on a trip. You name the place where they're at and everything. I'm like, hey, you guys hungry for dinner? Yeah, cool. Hey, so hey, do you guys want Chipotle or Chipotle? You know what I mean? Like, if there's one there, I'm going to use points. I'm going to see how much I don't spend in a day. Not today. Man, I clap. I don't care. I'm clapping anyway. So look, then we're going to take that money and we're going to invest it later, and we're going to show how much we don't spend. You guys understand? It's called the prosperity jar. You understand that? Like, you guys, we stop worshiping vending machines. Put the money in, bow down. What we do is we already have the stuff. So we'll look at all the apps and points, because I start with a number and I stick to it. I want to see how much. I'm going to calculate how much a trip would have cost if I just would have just paid, like just bought all the airline tickets and like actually paid for all the stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so, and doing that. So we're going to do a challenge. Okay. And I'm going to work it out, and we're going to come back to you, and we're going to see like who can travel. And then look, you'll just do a video. You shoot a video and say, hey, look, I went on the trip, or doing this. And then, hey, and then you just tell me what airport you're watching the planes fly over at. You know what I mean? Like, or what, but you see what it really is you hit on it. You hit on it so hard. Bitch, man, when you said it's the experience, our kids don't think no less. They are literally having the time of their life. They eat the same. My kids and I were eating the same Doritos chips them other people paid $5 for that I brought with me in the bag. You know what I mean? Like, they were eating the same bag. They paid $5. I paid $10 for 50 of them at the Costco in Inglewood, California. I just brought me to Hawaii. And that's actually how they do the experience. Last one. And then I just want to let everybody know we gonna do a challenge. I'm making no round. We doing a challenge.
All
so right. I really think this would be very, very, I think this is very beneficial, or that people need to think about financially, in the way of also in the way of saving money. One of the things also I do is that when I travel and everything like this, is that we want to look at how we want to set things up for travel. In other words, like, if we're going to come back, if we're saying we're going to stay at this hotel, this place, that is seeing in advance what it is based on the days that you stay there. It's cheaper to stay on certain days than it is on other ones. Like, it's cheaper on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday than it is on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you want to look at that and write those down. So we're going to have we're going to do that, but we're going to do a challenge on that.
Well, and then the other thing to that, George, is sometimes also, if you're willing to go a little bit further from your destination point from a hotel standpoint, you can also rack up savings. My son is active in AAU basketball, and so he's traveling every week playing someplace. And one of the things that obviously you'll have the venue, and what hotels do is when they know that there's a venue coming to town, they will jack those rates up. And so when people say, this is the conference hotel, well, you're going to pay premium rates to stay in that conference hotel. And so we will go 30 to 45 minutes away. And I don't mind the driving because, hey, a couple things, we're going to be driving an EV. Okay. So we're going to save on gas. But then the other thing is, even if you have a gas powered car, the money that you save, a couple of $100s a night for a hotel stay, that adds up. And so those are really small things that you could easily do to just expand the savings in the summer, but also create those experiences. And you know what, George, one of the things that I want to stress is I know that somebody's either watching or listening to this podcast and probably thinking, yo, that's just too much. Like, you going to Costco and getting Doritos, and all of that, or you're trying to calculate your spending and one of the things that I'll say to the person who feels like that's too much is if that's your mindset, that's often why individuals have too little, because you cannot be laissez-faire when it comes to wealth building. You have to be strategic, and most importantly, you have to be intentional. The world is set up in a way so that those that are wealth creation minded actually, benefit from those who are laissez-faire and particularly lazy when it comes to it.
Right.
So the person that owns the vending machines is benefiting from the people that didn't plan ahead of time. That's it. They prepared. And so they're benefiting from the people that are repairing because, I didn't pack my lunch. So now I got to pay $5 for a bag of Doritos, right? And so once again, what we are doing is challenging you to shift your thinking. I've said this before, and it begs repeating. Wealth creation and money management is 90% about how you think, and it's 10% of what you do. It is a mindset. And so, if you understand that this is a priority, if it's a priority for you, if it's a priority for your family, then you make decisions and you take actions that are in line with where you ultimately want to be. You start with the end in mind, and then you work backwards. And so I want to set that as a framework, because I know, George, some people are listening to us saying, man, like that's really intentional. Like we're going into the summer, but we're already planning for next summer, right? For our next summer vacation with points, with all of these strategies that we've discussed on this podcast. My wife and I are already working for that for next summer.
Right. And can I tell you something funny? Is because you know how you said that someone is, and I admit there's probably someone listening that's going, yeah, that's too much, or that guy's that and everything. Is if you remember, and then also you guys listen to previous podcasts when I talk about when I went to this trip to Hawaii is I packed all this food. I brought most of the food with me that we ate during the daytime. So I'm the only person that was doing that on this whole big bus. Do you know what happened by the time the bus, when we finished by 5 o'clock? You know how many men went up to me at the end of the day and were like, God, I wish I had done what you had done. Because they didn't live in California. They had lived in other places like Arkansas, Chicago. They were all over the United States. And they were like, they saw all the stuff. They're like, God, they were expensive. And they just saw them. I had spent $30-something during the daytime. And they had spent one tree for, I'm sorry, it was about 50. And then, but the guy that was right in front of me had 2 kids, and he spent like 400 and something. And he said, I wish I had done what you did. And you understand, and then I want to go back to, I'm going to end with what you said. It's about the experience the kids have. My kids think this is just how we're raised. In other words, like they think that when you go into a place, a business, that you own stock in the company. They think that you just go to college. They just think that because of that's the way that I am. And back to experience. You said that you do an educational where you do educational. Like let's say you go to DC or you go to somewhere and you educate your kids. Let me do number 3. And then by the way, I'm charging for this. Is this. Do a wealth walk there with your kids. Do a wealth drive. Start driving to go around and look at real estate houses that you would buy. And then hire your kids as employees. And then that's their pay. And then we'll talk about taxes later on about how you write that off. Because I'm always doing business. And by the way, when I travel to certain cities, I always do 1 day of business. That way I can adjust that way because I'm working. All right. So that's enough money saving experience for one episode.
Sounds good, George. Well, listen, guys, we're out of time. But once again, I hope that if this podcast has added value to you, that you would like the podcast. We drop new episodes on a couple of different calendar pace. We drop new episodes each week. We drop episodes each month. And so definitely want to encourage you to share this podcast with other individuals. We are serious about freedom, but in particular, financial freedom. George, tell the people where they can always find you. I know you've got a new book coming out. And I'm excited for us to dig into that relatively soon. But tell them where they can connect with you at.
Great. Hey, you guys can always go to my website, georgebthompson.com. Or, hey, I also have one where it has all my information. You go to ican'tfindgeorge.com. That has all my information. I have a brand new book coming out. It's called 21 Day Fast Start. And then we have a June challenge, plus the challenge that we're going to have a summer challenge too in doing that. But that's how you get a hold of me.
That's incredible. Hey, you can always find me at vanmoody.org. Also, if you missed our Empower Financial and Entrepreneurship Conference, you can go out to vanmoody.org and you can find information about how to access that content on demand. This was one of the best conferences that we've done. It was absolutely incredible. We've got content for parents, singles, adults, kids, youth, everybody. If you want to just know how to get started on this wealth journey, if you are an entrepreneur, if you're trying to scale your business, if you're trying to take your business to the next level and sell it at top dollar, whatever the topic is that you're interested in, I believe we covered it. And so if you were not able to attend that conference live, check out the on-demand content. Go out to vanmoody.org. You can always reach me there. And hopefully this podcast has added value to your life, and we hope that we will see you next month. Take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Freedom Podcast. For a broader range of topics, go to Van Moody's YouTube page or visit twccc.org.